Sinisterism is about finding the primal aspects of the left-hand path, primal in history, primal in the psyche, thus obtaining truth. Thomas Leroy.
Greetings, my friends, and welcome back to your dose of sinister heathenry. But for those new to the channel, I'm Thomas Leroy, founder of the International Left-Hand Path organization, the Sect of the Horn God. The sect is an educational foundation created to not only make those with a black flame aware of its glow, but to also restore the shadow aspects to the ancient gods by going deep into the past, not only historically, but also psychologically. For the primal depths of the psyche are limitless. So, if this sounds interesting, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to learn more, join the organization, the Sect of the Horn God, at the link down below. Thank you. So today, I think I'm going to do something a little different, a little less dwelling on the doom and gloom of reality, and get into art. And in this video, we'll specifically get into the written word, literature, if you can call it that. Now, it's questionable whether some of these authors I have chosen to speak about are true literature. I think they are. I think they are because they go deeper than what's on the surface. Now, it's, well, an example. Now, you can take, let's say, an artist, an illustrator, a painter, such as H.R. Giger, and you look at those paintings, and I don't know about you, but for me, it strikes me somewhere deep. It goes beyond the surface. And for me, if it goes beyond the surface, that is art. Now, when it comes to the written word and stories and so on and so forth, the deepest connection us on this path, on the left-hand path, have with literature is horror. In most horror, 95%, if not greater, most horror is complete and utter shit. Be it the written word or movies or whatever. Horror, most of it is really fucking bad. And it's a shame. Because when done right, there is nothing better. There is nothing better than a good horror story. I think that's why I love a great horror story, because they're rare. They're like finding gems. And without a doubt, the greatest of all horror writers, besides maybe the man himself, Edgar Allan Poe, would be Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft. Now, we, of course, know what sort of person Lovecraft was, right? He was a disturbed human being with a very narrow perspective when it came to other human beings. He was a xenophobe. He did not, people call him racist. Of course he was racist, but I think he was in a lot of ways racist toward the human race, if that makes any sense. He didn't like people, period. But anyway, besides that, there is no other author of horror that went as deeply to this day as Lovecraft did. Now, in my opinion, his deepest, darkest, most twisted tale is the Dunwich Horror. Now, a lot of what Lovecraft wrote was kind of somewhat had a science fiction aspect to it. Let's put it that way. Dunwich Horror doesn't. Dunwich Horror is pure, how should I say, occultic fantasy in a sense. There is nothing really science fiction about it. You can, maybe if you, I don't know, if you acknowledge that there's an aspect of the interdimensional to the story. But for me, it comes across as pure occultic horror. If you haven't read it, I recommend it highly. It was written in 1928. It's the story of a degenerate family in the town of Dunwich, or outside of Dunwich. Lavinia, the daughter of Old Man Whately, has a child. And this child, his name is Wilbur. He's goatish in appearance. He grows quickly. He's the size of a man by the age of 8, I think it is, or even taller than a man. Anyway, I'll put it this way. Literally, Wilbur is only half of it. All right? It's a short story. You can read it in, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. Recommend it highly. The Dunwich Horror. Now, when it comes to horror, there's only one other horror writer that I really appreciate, and that is, well, mainly his short stories. I'm not a huge fan of his novels, but his short stories are priceless. Even Stephen King said that this writer was a better writer than Stephen King himself. And that is Clive Barker. Now, I think we've all seen Hellraiser. The first 2 Hellraiser movies, good movies. Fun, entertaining. They got something a little deeper going on, that sadomasochistic edge to them. But the acting isn't all that great. The special effects are a little weak. I do not believe, well, Clive Barker, put it this way, he'd only directed, I think, some plays before he directed his story, as a film. So there's some weaknesses, but it's what goes on deeper. You're able to dismiss the, like I said, the not so great aspects, because what lies underneath is important. Now, after the second one, every fucking movie after that is basically shit. Almost. I think starting with the third Hellraiser movie, it started going downhill. Because what it did is it took these indifferent beings, the Cenobites, and turned, Pinhead himself, the Hell Priest, into a villain, into something evil. And he was never really evil. He was indifferent. And that's something in common with the Lovecraftian creatures, the Lovecraftian old ones. They were indifferent to humanity. And in some ways, I find that creepier than the standard villain. Anyway, Clive Barker's short stories, his books of blood, if you find the books of blood, pick them up. They're gems, these stories. And probably my favorite out of the bunch is called In the Hills of the Cities. It's about a gay couple in the Balkans that encounter some really weird shit going on with the different communities up there in the hills. I don't want to give it away. There's other outstanding stories like Rawhead Rex, which is a pure monster story. There's also Midnight Meat Train, which was made into a pretty damn good movie. Didn't get much in the way of promotion or exposure. I don't think too many people have seen it, but if you come across it, Midnight Meat Train, recommend it highly. It's based on one of the short stories in the Book of Blood. I believe it's the first of the stories in the volumes. Midnight Meat Train. Anyway, Clive Barker, superb, absolutely superb. Now that H.P. Lovecraft, Clive Barker, that's horror. That's pure. Those stories, their short stories are pure horror. Now, there's other stuff besides, or other writers besides pure horror writers that we on this path might find, or some of you might find interesting. Take, for example, the writer Carl Edward Wagner. Now, he wrote horror, but he's better known for his fantasy. His character, Cain. Cain, you might think is a Conan-like figure, but he's much more. He's the sort of guy that Conan would be fighting. He is the Cain. You get the impression that maybe the biblical Cain's based on this guy, if that makes any sense. He's immortal. He's a sorcerer, but you get the impression he can be killed. He's immortal in the respect that he doesn't grow old. He is darker than dark. He is out for himself. And if he ever does any good, it's for Machiavellian reasons. He's not doing it because he wants to help humanity, put it that way. The author, Carl Edward Wagner, called his writing, his Cain stories, he called them acid Gothic. It was during that period, early 70s, when he first created Cain, maybe in the late 60s, early 70s. And at the time, there was acid rock and so on, but he had created this genre he called acid Gothic. And he made an interesting point. He said in stories, in a lot of stories, the villains were the most interesting characters. So he decided, fuck it, my main character, he's gonna be a villain. And that is Cain. So you get a chance, pick up these Cain books if you find them. They're out of print as far as I know. There's a volume of short stories, and then I believe there's 4 novels. If you can find it, pick them up. Cain. Now, the final author I'll recommend is my favorite novelist, and that is Cormac McCarthy. And why is he my favorite novelist? Basically, because he wrote my favorite novel, Blood Meridian. Now, the 2 books, of course, read Blood Meridian if you haven't. Please go out there and get that book. Now, some of you might go, what the fuck is this? I don't get it. Others will think it's fucking tremendous. It's all relative. But for you dark occultic types, he has 2 other books that I highly recommend. The first one is The Road. Now, The Road was made into a film, superb film. I believe it came out in 2009, starring Vgo Mortonson. It's an post-apocalyptic tale of father and son. Don't want to give too much away. You don't know what what happened, what triggered this apocalypse. All you know is it's desolation, and there's roving bands of, some fucked up people, as you would in a post-apocalyptic scenario. Anyway, The Road. Highly recommend it. A lot of you are probably familiar with it. The second book is Outer Dark, which is also his second novel. It was written in 1968. This is one of those books where you wonder, is he going to go there? And he goes there. Meaning the end of the book will just make you go, fuck. What did I just read? It is twisted. It's the story of siblings, brother and sister, who do that which siblings should not do. And they produce the child. The brother leaves the child out in the woods, tells his sister that the baby had died. And the baby's picked up by an old tinker. Now, the sister, when she later finds out the baby's actually still alive, or possibly still alive, she goes out looking for the baby, and so does the brother, Cullen. He goes out looking for the baby, kind of. You start to figure out that he's not so much looking for the baby as he is, let's say, trying to do for himself. He's looking for a job or whatever. But what's going on is there's these three individuals, these three dark, menacing people that are following him. And wherever Cullen goes, these three wreak havoc after him, if that makes any sense. Like in the case, for instance, an old man helps Cullen out. You get the impression. I'm pretty sure he was an old man, I think. But anyway, this guy helps Cullen out. And something horrible happens to that guy after Cullen leaves because of these three dark individuals. Get a chance, pick up. You know what? You who like the sick and twisted, as a lot of us dark occultist types are, pick this book up. As you can see, it's not a very thick volume, is it? You could read this in one day. Recommend it highly. Outer Dark. The other one, The Road. The fucking Road. Pick these books up. Recommend them highly. And that's about it, my friends. There is more than just standard horror out there. If you like Stephen King, more power to you. I'm not a huge fan. But if you want to try something a little different, try these books I recommend. You will not be disappointed. Until next time.